Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Mike's Talks and Thoughts here, back again with another video for you guys, and today we are finally here with The Last of Us Season 1 characters tier list. Now I have been talking about coming out with The Last of Us Season 1 characters tier list for a while now. I know I haven't been posting a lot recently. That's just due to some personal reasons and a lot of holidays that came up and around, so I haven't had a lot of time to film, but today we are finally here with our last installment for the Last of Us series. We've been doing the episode reviews as well as a season review here on the channel, and now here talking about the characters from season 1. Just going to be going in depth and talking about what I liked, disliked, and my overall thoughts on each one of these characters for The Last of Us. And of course, this is going to be mainly based on the TV show. I have not played the Last of Us game, so all the opinions here are going to be based on how the character was portrayed on the TV show. So starting out here, we have Captain Kwong. He was the person who was in the Boston quarantine zone, sort of like this person that Ellie was going to, trying to get Ellie into, right shape, trying to get her to straighten out here. And he is a very forgettable character. I believe he's only in the show for maybe 5 minutes, if that. He is someone who doesn't have a lot of screen time. I feel very neutral about him. Not really good or bad in either direction. So he's just going to go right there in the C tier. Next tier, we have the Indonesian doctor here. She was the one who, was very early on trying to discover what was going on with this whole outbreak. And again, she's like a C tier character, man. Really interesting how they did that in The Last of Us, how they were able to show more of a background on how the cordyceps virus sort of got started in flour and wheat, and Indonesia kind of being the hub of where the outbreak started and it's spreading from there. So that was very interesting to see here, but overall C tier. Another C tier character, man. I'm going to go with Perry, C tier. This is someone who was a part of the whole Fedra group, going after Henry and Sam, trying to, please Kathleen here, who was on the hunt for Henry, of course, in episodes 4 and 5. He was, solid enforcer. Again, very neutral. Didn't hate him. Now here, man, we have Nick Offerman as Bill. And for me, I'm going to put Bill in A tier. He's very much bordering on S tier. I absolutely loved Bill's episode. Bill and Frank were absolutely incredible. Just that hour-long story of 20 years in the apocalypse. It's just so beautiful. This survivalist who builds this community for himself and finds love. It's very beautiful to watch, and Nick Offerman was great, gave a top-tier acting performance, as he always does. He is great in a lot of projects, and in this one, he did not disappoint. Next up here, Marlene. I'm going to put Marlene B tier. She definitely has more of a hold as opposed to some of these other characters we have talked about so far, who, she wasn't in a lot of the story. She was in maybe the first and the last episode, but her impact was felt so much in her journey of trying to get Ellie to the Fireflies, her group, and then having to make a sacrifice for the greater good. In her background with even Ellie's mother, who we're going to get to, was really interesting to see. And just knowing how much she has for Ellie, how much she has to offer Ellie, and, just how it all comes crumbling down. Just so heartbreaking. And yeah, B tier character. Next tier, Tommy, man. Tommy's going to go A tier. We didn't get to see much of Tommy throughout the show. Again, someone who's in like 2 episodes here. But his 2 episodes were very impactful. The first episode, with him and Joel was really great, as the outbreak is starting here. And he just goes full on chaos mode. Just him and Joel just trying to get out of the city, and eventually, taking down people out there just looking to protect his loved ones. And then, of course, him and Joel have been separated for like 20 years, in the outbreak here, of course, of the cordyceps virus, and him finally reuniting with Joel and them embracing and feeling how Tommy was doing in his Wyoming community here, and seeing how he's kind of built a family for his own now. And really interesting to see. I can't wait to see him more in the next season, because Gabriel Luna, I think, did a great job, especially in that first episode. One of my favorite performances from the pilot. And speaking about favorite performances from the pilot, we have Sarah here. I'm going to put Sarah in B tier just because, again, only on screen for a limited amount of time, but she's kind of the one who is the start of this all. We see a lot of the first 30 minutes of The Last of Us from her perspective. Joel's daughter, of course, and how they're trying to, of course, evacuate the city here, and just the chaos that ensues with, of course, the neighbors. We get introduced to the runners and the infected here, and we get to see how she just ends up getting shot here, and it's so heartbreaking to see her die in Joel's arms here. And it was very impactful, a great way to start off how they were going to set the tone for The Last of Us here. Next here, another heartbreaking character in Sam. I'm going to put Sam... I'll put Sam A tier. I think Sam is very interesting. Definitely someone who you felt so much more sad and connected with because of him being deaf here. It was so heartbreaking to see just like him going out through this journey and trying to figure out what's going on in this chaotic world, and them trying to get out of the city here. Him and, of course, his older brother Henry here. So sad, so sad. Probably the most emotional, or at least one of the most emotional characters that you were attached to this season, that aside from Joel and Ellie, of course, plays a great role. Next here we have David, of course, the leader of this crazy group we get to see in the winter chapter. And for me, I'm going to put him in the B tier just because I think he's a very strong antagonist for his episode here. This dude's a piece of shit and an asshole, but he does a really great job of playing a really good antagonist. I'll say that, very much Terminus vibes, where this group, of course, trying to survive in these tough times, and then you find out, of course, how sick and demented this dude is, and why, of course, he wants Ellie to stay alive, and how they've been eating people, and it's just a fucked up group in this society, and it was really interesting to see. Next here we have Tess. And for me, I'm going to put Tess in the A tier. I think she was a great side character. Someone who I didn't expect to go very early on, but she had, one of the biggest impacts, aside from Joel and Ellie, of course, in this show. With the first episode, her dynamic with Joel, and then we find out about how her and Joel were trading with Bill and Frank, of course. And, of course, she is like the first major victim in the 20 years later, where you feel something, man. Anna Torv does a great job here in this role, and just sacrificing herself, and wanting Joel and Ellie to push on and go forward, and of course make it through their journey. I mean, what do you guys say here about Joel? Joel is S tier. Joel is probably my favorite character, of course. Joel and Ellie make a great dynamic duo here for the show. Pedro Pascal, he just doesn't miss. He's always great in everything that he does. Always is charismatic, just always knows how to put on a great performance. And, of course, here is Joel Miller, one of my favorites here. Probably one of my favorite performances of the year for sure. And just can't wait to see what he brings to the table for season 2. As we mentioned before with Sam, I'm going to put Henry as well in the A tier. A lot of great, strong side characters who, even though they were only in 1 to 3 episodes, just had such an impact and so much emotion attached to them. And Henry's that same way. You see his struggle to protect Sam and trying to, keep Sam safe. And when he realizes that what happened with Sam and how he has nothing left to live for. It was very heartbreaking, and just his little journey of even just finding out little background pieces on him and how messed up this town of Kansas City was in the outbreak. Interesting to see here. Here we have our first D tier character in Kathleen. You know, she was an interesting antagonist, but definitely not one of my favorites. You know, her whole dilemma of trying to get back at Henry. It's interesting. I really loved the episodes that she was in, especially episode number 5, which of course I like to refer to as the Henry and Sam episode. She's just okay. You know, I'm not really the biggest on her. And yeah, next tier Florence, like C tier. Another one that just is kind of hanging around. We find out that she you know, has been living off kind of on her own, and Joel and Ellie kind of come across her, but not much to the story. She's kind of just there. Again, one of these very neutral characters. Next here we have Anna. This is, of course, Ellie's mother here. And just for her phenomenal scene alone, I'm going to put her in the B tier. Uh, I loved the start of episode 9, the final episode, and finding out how Ellie can be infected and not turn. That was always something that I was wondering, because going in, I actually did know about Ellie's condition where she can be bit and not turn. And that's a very new dynamic here, something that you don't see a lot in a lot of post-apocalyptic shows, where this one character can be bit and, of course, not turn. And you find out why here, because of Ellie's mom, of course, giving birth while she was infected, sort of created this offset moment to where Ellie is sort of immune to this disease here. Next tier we have Frank, and I'm going to put Frank in the A tier as well. Bill and Frank, aside from Joel and Ellie, and probably Joel and Tommy, my third favorite dynamic here on The Last of Us. They were just so great, growing in this post-apocalyptic world. These two just, they needed each other in a time of need, and it was beautiful to see just the chemistry that they had on screen together, and the way that they were introduced, the way that they concluded that episode. It was one of my favorite episodes of all time, especially here for The Last of Us. Really great. Loved it. Beautifully done. And yeah, A tier character. Next tier we have Riley. I'm going to put Riley in B tier, even though her episode with Ellie is probably my least favorite of the first season. She was always a cool little badass character. She kind of reminded me of a little badass who would have been really good in the apocalypse here. Definitely someone who would always have your back, and someone who has a lot of great moments with Ellie. I love the bonding that they have, and sort of how they have a little bit more than a friendship that you find out. And again, someone like Sam and Henry, their demise is just so heartbreaking. Ellie here is going to go in the S tier. Of course, Joel and Ellie, they have to be 1 and 2 here on the show here, and I'm going to give a lot of praise to Bella Ramsey here. She has been criticized a lot for not looking like Ellie, or not being the stereotypical person what they thought Ellie should look like, but I honestly have no problem with her playing Ellie. I think they actually do look alike, and I think that she has brought just this great energy with her to this show, and I love her performance. I love everything that she brings, whether she's on her own, whether she's working with, of course, Riley or Joel or Tess. She has so many great dynamics in this show, and I think she's going to be the one that's going to grow the most, and probably going to be the fan favorite by the time The Last of Us has finished here. Next here we have Tommy's wife here. Forget her name exactly, but she's going to go probably in the B tier. Again, someone don't really see that long, but I love her and Tommy's connection here, and I think she's going to play a bigger role later on, and I loved her talking with Ellie and trying to comfort her, of course, during these tough times, and of course being this sort of glue in the Wyoming community, being one of the council people and having a lot of authority over this group. She's someone who has done very well for herself in The Last of Us here. And lastly, here we have one of the guards. Again, C tier, very neutral. Not much to say here from the quarantine zone. And yeah, that's going to do it here. I mean, we have Joel and Ellie, of course, in the S tier. Clear cut. Number 1 and number 2. But we also have a lot of great A tier and B tier characters as well. And that's the thing that I really thought The Last of Us did really well. Having a lot of great side characters to balance the 2 main characters and having amazing plots and just, of course, adapting from the video game so well in this first season. And I can't wait to see where these characters go moving forward. Of course, a lot of these characters we've already seen their conclusion, but I can't wait to see what they have in store for the new characters. Of course, Abby being a big character that I think a lot of people are going to have mixed feelings on moving forward here. But yeah, that's going to do it here for the Last of Us characters tier list. Let me know down in the comment section below either your favorite character, your favorite side character, who you like better between Joel and Ellie. I'd really like to see what you have to say, and definitely stay tuned as I'm going to be following The Last of Us when it comes back for Season 2, of course, ranking those episodes and possibly doing an updated characters tier list, as well as my channel has many other tier lists as well that you can check out here from many different other shows. So yeah, that's going to do it, everyone. Take care, and peace out.